This is the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Schola in the Narrowgate Security Agency studios.
Remember what it's going to take. It's all of us working together at the end of the line here. By God's grace, we will be able to save the nation. And it's going to take unity among patriots who love this country as much as we love our own families.
Sarah Palin calling for unity, as is Donald Trump, as is our special guest today. After a week that was low-lighted by disgusting attacks against Sarah Palin by a female rapper, we thought it'd be nice to have a musician on the show with a positive message. And why stop there? How about one of the best in the business? You know him from the Isley Brothers. Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Chris Jasper is here to talk about his new patriotic, hopeful song and discuss his support for Donald J. Trump. Sarah Palin is confronted by a woman on social media. The governor's response to the raunchy, pathetic comments was classy and awesome. We'll take a look back. Palin highlights an important piece from Ann Coulter. A brand new installment of Liberty and Legacy with Tamara Colbert is on the way from Texas. And just ahead, our latest edition of Steel Resolve with Sarah Steelman in Missouri. Welcome to the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. The Palin Update is sponsored by Narrowgate Security Agency. Learn more at narrowgate.com. Well, what a treat today to have one of the greatest American musicians we've ever known. And guess what? He's behind Donald Trump. His new song, America, is inspired by the current race for the White House, where the country is and where it should be. A true music legend, a former member of the Isley Brothers. Honored to have the talented Chris Jasper with us here tonight on the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Hello, sir. How are you?
Oh, great, Kevin. Thanks for having me on the show.
It is a pleasure to have you. Really a music legend. And Chris, for people who don't know, a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award winner and a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee. Not many people in those hallways there in Cleveland, Ohio, and really, really great to talk to you. And Chris, I know you have done so much over the years with music, such a talented musician on piano, on keyboard, you're writing, part of the Isley Brothers. Tell us, what a career. Just to look back and look forward as you have a new album coming out, which we'll talk about in a moment. But just looking back at your career so far, could you have ever dreamed this up as a child?
No, I couldn't have. As a kid, I always, I love music. Music was in my family. My mother played piano. I had an uncle who was a concert violinist. And I was always around music, but I never knew, how far music would take me. But I knew I loved it. And as a child, I was lucky to have a professor who studied at the conservatory in Cincinnati, and he was my teacher. And he got me on the road to composing and writing from the age of 7. So I was really blessed with that. But I never knew, like I said, I never knew where it would take me. But I'm happy it took me here.
And here you are. The Isley Brothers, just a iconic group, really. For people who don't know, let's tell them, and not to squeeze your own juice box here, but I'm going to do it if you don't. So let's tell people how important you really were and vital to that success, and what your role was when you came on board in the early 70s.
Yeah, well, when I first came on board with the group, and by the way, the two families, the Isleys and Jasper, go way back. We were kind of raised together, so I knew the guys all my life practically. And but when I got together with them professionally, my background, really helped a lot because, like I said, I was trained as a composer, and I played keyboards. And at first, I was, just a musician, first coming in because I was just out of high school. But as time went on, I took more of the role of writing and arranging, and whatever needed to be done, musically. I played other instruments too. I played bass. I played guitar. So I was, a big part of what went on musically.
And you look at the songs from the Isley Brothers that you were so instrumental in, for lack of a better term, and it's amazing today, not only radio play, but commercials, soundtracks, movies. You hear things like That Lady or other songs that everyone stops and knows, and it transcends generations, it transcends background. People love your stuff to this day. Some people, they're popular for a while and that's it. But you look at something like that that's so lasting, and I mean, you hear your music at ballparks. I know I do. So that's got to be something for you to still, right? All these years, here you are, you leave the house and you might hear something that you had a big hand in.
That's true, yeah. And the song Caravan of Love that I wrote and sang, that was used for the Dodge commercial, It's like, I'm just like, sometimes I view it as though it's someone else, you know what I mean? Because it's so amazing, some of the things that happen. But I guess that's my training as a composer, because they always told us as composers you have to detach yourself from your work, to be objective. So I guess that's the old composition coming out of me. But I just think it's just amazing that people would hear something that I worked on and then decided to use it. I always take that as a huge compliment.
And then I guess one of the biggest compliments is when other musicians, sample or use some of your stuff. I know that that has run the gamut over the years, and people from all different types of genres too. I mean, from Whitney Houston to Snoop Dogg even, has used stuff from the Isley Brothers. So when you get that, a compliment, because we see this where musicians really appreciate other musicians, and when you see that in people who are still, so mainstream popular today, and that's got to be just a real, hey, look, this stuff has stuck, and people have really kept it going, as we've seen, back from Mozart to Beethoven to Elvis to the Beatles to the guys today. I think you put the Isley Brothers right there.
Yeah, well, that when people sample your music and use it like that, that's another type of a validation, because before the internet, I really didn't know how the music affected other people or how they accepted it, and what it meant to them. And the sampling is just one way of showing that, that people really did like it, they were really into it. And now I can get, direct responses from people on Facebook, and they tell me, what the songs meant to them, and, how much they enjoyed, the albums, and they can, run the albums down and say what songs were on there, and all that. And so it's very interesting to see the other side of it, because I've been on this side, making the records. And it's interesting to see how, people who receive them and listen to them react and respond, and it's just an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's got to be an incredible feeling having people talk to you how your stuff has meant so much to them. It really a soundtrack to people's lives. Now, let's tell people, folks, Chris, why you're here today. You and your lovely wife, you've been behind Donald Trump since day one, and for some people that's a controversial stance. For others, it's a common sense stance. The guy who people have a lot of hope behind right now, and has really uplifted a lot of America, and has also inspired some people to get out and get involved in the political process who may have not done so before or haven't in a while. And you've been so into this that you've actually sat down and wrote a song that I got to call it uplifting, a new song. It's called America, and it's going to be coming out this summer on your new CD, which is Share With Me. But America, which people got a chance to hear a little bit of leading into our talk here tonight. Just a great song, and we'll delve into it a little more. But first, the whole Trump deal. Why Donald Trump? And did you have any pause, being a guy in entertainment world where these things may not be as well received? Someone who obviously wants to sell some CDs too. Yeah,
it's a funny thing, but I usually don't get into politics, because I'm first of all a citizen of God's kingdom from above. That's my first consideration, and that's how I run my life.
Amen.
But secondly, I just see how the country is going, and it seems that politicians, as usual, haven't seemed to be able to solve the problems. And I just believe that these particular problems that we have, the deficit, the trade situation, needs to be handled by someone with a certain expertise. And it just seems like none of the other candidates have the expertise to begin to solve the problems. So I think that's the reason why, I think Donald Trump is a better candidate for this point in time. And I also feel that, he's gotten a lot of bad press, and I've never seen anything like it, the way they've come after him. And a lot of it is, because maybe, he's not politically correct. That may be one reason. And I think the other reason is the establishment just doesn't want to change things. I just think they want things to remain like it is and, keep making the money that they're making. And they're not considering America first, And so that's the reason I just think he's a better candidate. And I don't believe all the bad things they're saying about him because his life shows something different. They're attacking him on a lot of different fronts. And, just one example is I just found out that Jennifer Hudson, when I think someone in her family was murdered, Donald Trump put her up in a hotel in Chicago, free, his hotel, his international hotel. And nobody says anything about the good things that he's done, for people of all races. So I don't buy the things that they're, saying about him because I know differently. And I think more people should talk about the good things he's done, get those out there so people can understand that. But, like I said, the propaganda is one thing, but my main thing is a business decision, and I run a business myself, and I just think, he's the best person to solve our financial problems.